Listen to me, lean in for a moment and really hear this. When a narcissist betrays a super empath, something happens that most people don't understand. On the surface, it looks like you're the one who's shattered. It looks like you're the one who's broken, questioning yourself, replaying conversations at 2 a.m., wondering how someone you love so deeply could turn so cold. But what if I told you that the real collapse doesn't happen inside you? What if I told you that the one who truly cannot recover is the one who betrayed you? I did it, the one who betrayed you. Let me ask you something. Have you ever given your heart fully? Have you ever loved with patience, with compassion, with a depth that most people will never understand? You saw their wounds, you saw their insecurities, you saw the child behind the mask, and instead of running, you stayed. You tried to heal, you tried to build, you tried to believe knew exactly what I'm talking about. You are not just sensitive, you are powerful, you are intuitive, you are deeply connected, and when you love with your whole being. That is what makes you a super empath. And here's the truth most people will never tell you. A narcissist feeds on validation, attention, control. They survive by extracting emotional energy from others. They need admiration like oxygen. They need power like fuel. But when they meet someone like you, something different happens. You don't just give attention, you give depth. You don't just give compliments, you give belief. You don't just give affection, you give soul. And for a moment, just a moment, they feel whole. Think about that. For a moment, your presence quieted their chaos. Your empathy softened their shame. Your love made them feel seen without the performance. But here's the problem. A narcissist cannot sustain authenticity. They cannot live in vulnerability. They cannot stay in a space where masks fall away. Because underneath the grandiosity, underneath the charm, there is fear, there is insecurity, there is a fragile identity built on illusion. And when they betray you, when they lie, manipulate, discard, or devalue, they believe they're regaining control. They believe they're winning. They believe they can simply move on to the next source of supply. But what they don't understand is this: they will never again find someone who loved them the way you did. Let that sink in. They can find admiration, they can find attention, they can find someone impressed by the surface, but they cannot easily find someone who saw the darkness and still chose the light. That was you, and when they betrayed you, they didn't just lose a partner, they lost a mirror that reflected their potential. They lost the one person who believed they could be more than their patterns. Now let me ask you something else. Why does it feel like you're the one who's struggling? Because you feel deeply, because you attach meaning, because your heart doesn't operate in transactions. When you give with intention. And when that bond breaks, it feels like a fracture in your identity. But listen to me carefully. Pain does not mean you lost. Pain means you loved it. Pain means you invested. Pain means you showed up fully. And that is not weakness. That is power in its rawest form. Right now, in this moment, I want you to shift your perspective. The narcissist cannot recover because they cannot self-reflect in a meaningful way. They cannot sit alone in silence and say, I need to grow. They cannot easily confront their own shadow without collapsing into shame. But you can sit with the discomfort and turn it into wisdom. You can take heartbreak and turn it into boundaries. You can take betrayal and turn it into clarity. And here's the breakthrough. The very qualities that made you vulnerable to manipulation are the same qualities that make you unstoppable once awakened. Your compassion becomes strength. Your forgiveness becomes self-respect. Think about this for a moment. A narcissist depends on external validation to feel alive. When you withdraw your energy, when you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop trying to fix, something happens. Silence. And in that silence, they feel the absence of your depth. They feel the loss of someone who truly understood them. And that absence, it is louder than any argument you could ever make. You see, they can replace attention. They cannot replace connection. They can replace admiration. They cannot replace authenticity. They can replace admiration. They can find new people. They cannot recreate the specific frequency of your love. And that is why they can't recover. Because somewhere inside, even if they never admit it, they know they lost something rare. Now, here's where your transformation begins. You must stop measuring your worth by their behavior. Let me say that again. Stop measuring your worth by their behavior. Their betrayal was not proof that you were too much. It was proof that they were not enough. You were not too loving. They were incapable of receiving it. You were not too emotional. They were emotionally unavailable. You were not too intense. They were too shallow to meet you in depth. And when you truly understand this, something shifts inside you. You begin to say, I respect myself and I honor my peace. You begin to say, I am open to the good that life brings. You begin to say, I trust that everything is working out for me. These are not just words. These are decisions to stop chasing closure from someone who cannot give it. Decisions to stop shrinking yourself to make someone else comfortable. Decisions to step into your power instead of your pain. Listen to me, a narcissist fears one thing more than anything else: irrelevance. When you detach, when you grow, when you thrive without them, you become living proof that they were not your source of strength. They were a lesson. And lessons are stepping stones, not destinations. Let me ask you something powerful. But the awakening of your boundaries died. What if the heartbreak was the fire that burned away your fear of being alone? What if losing them was actually gaining yourself? 5 or sins, you know deep down that you've been stronger than you ever realized. You survived the confusion. You survived the gaslighting. You survived the emotional roller coaster. And you're still here. That is resilience. That is courage. That is proof of your capacity to rise. Now imagine this. The narcissist continues searching, new faces, new excitement, but the pattern repeats. The emptiness returns. The dissatisfaction resurfaces because the problem was never the partner. It was the void within, and a void cannot be filled by external validation alone. But you have the ability to turn inward and grow. You can say, my life becomes better every single day. You can say, I choose growth, I choose freedom, I choose my future. You can transform pain into purpose. And once you do that, there is no going back because you no longer operate from the need to be chosen. You operate from the decision to choose yourself. That is the moment the dynamic flips. Because you no longer operate from the need, that is the moment the super empath becomes empowered. And once empowered, you are no longer a source of supply. You are a force of nature. And when you become a force of nature, everything changes. Listen to me. This is where most people get it wrong. They think healing means forgetting. They think healing means forgetting. They think empowerment means becoming cold. No. They think empowerment means becoming cold. No, healing is not becoming numb. Healing is becoming wise. You don't stop feeling, you start filtering. You don't close your heart, you guard it with standards. You don't lose your softness, you pair it with boundaries so strong that no one can cross them without consequence. Let me ask you something. When you were in that relationship, how many times did you override your intuition? How many red flags did you excuse because you believed in their potential? How many nights did you silence your inner voice just to keep the peace? You know exactly what I'm talking about. Your intuition whispered, your body tightened, your energy shifted, but your heart said, maybe they'll change. And here's the truth. Your empathy was never the problem. Your lack of boundaries was, that's not judgment, that's empowerment. Because if boundaries were the missing piece, that means you can build them. And once you build them, no narcissist, no manipulator, no emotionally unavailable person can access you in the same way. Again, think about this for a moment. A narcissist thrives in chaos. They create confusion because clarity exposes them. They twist reality because truth threatens them. They blame you because accountability terrifies them. But when you heal, you stop reacting. And when you stop reacting, they lose control. When you no longer argue every distortion, when you no longer defend yourself against false accusations, when you no longer try to prove your worth, you become unhookable. And that is devastating to someone who depends on emotional reactions to feel powerful. Let me take you deeper. A narcissist doesn't just lose you physically. They lose access to your energy. And your energy was the very thing that made them feel significant. Your admiration, your reassurance, your forgiveness, your understanding. When you withdraw that, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect, something inside them destabilizes. Because now they have to face themselves, and most of them won't. They'll pretend they're happier than ever. But listen carefully. Distraction is not healing. Replacement is not growth. Projection is not transformation. And you are transforming. Right now, in this moment, while you're listening to these words, you are becoming more aware, more grounded, more aligned. You're starting to realize that the betrayal didn't break you. It revealed your standards. It revealed your depth. It revealed your standards. It revealed your depth. It revealed how much you are capable of loving. And now the question becomes, who deserves that love next? What if your next level of power isn't about finding someone better? What if it's about becoming someone stronger in your self-respect, stronger in your clarity, stronger in your ability to walk away the first time something feels wrong? You see, the narcissist can't recover because they don't evolve. They repeat, but you recover because you reflect, you grow, you integrate, you ask hard questions. What did I ignore? Why did I tolerate that? What part of me was afraid to leave? And when you answer those questions honestly, without shame, without self-attack, you unlock a new level of freedom. This is where your power explodes. Because now you're not just a loving person. You're a loving person with standards. You're not just compassionate. You're compassionate and discerning. You're not just in-hearted. You're open-hearted and unshakable. Say this with me in your heart. I respect myself and I honor my peace. Feel that. That's not ego, that's alignment. Let me ask you something powerful. If someone cannot appreciate your depth, is it your job to shrink? If someone cannot meet your emotional intelligence, is it your responsibility to simplify yourself? If someone feels intimidated by your authenticity, should you dim your light? Absolutely not. The narcissist couldn't handle your wholeness because it forced them to confront their fragmentation. Your stability exposed their instability. Your sincerity exposed their performance. Your emotional availability exposed their avoidance. And instead of rising to meet you, they chose control. Instead of growing, they chose manipulation. Instead of committing, they chose betrayal. That is not your failure. That is their ceiling. And here's the breakthrough you've been waiting for. When someone hits their ceiling, it does not mean you lower your floor. You rise, you expand, you outgrow, you move forward. Let me paint this clearly. The narcissist world is small. It revolves around image, status, validation, control. It is fragile. It requires constant maintenance. Your world, it is expansive. It includes growth, meaning connection, purpose. It evolves, it deepens, it strengthens over time. Which one do you think has real power? Right now, in this moment, you are standing at a crossroads. You can stay in resentment, or you can step into revelation. You can replay the betrayal, or you can reframe it as redirection. You can wait for an apology that may never come, or you can give yourself the closure of understanding. And understanding says this: oh, I am not rejected, I am not rejected, I am not abandoned, I am being elevated, I am not broken, I am becoming. Feel that shift. All the energy moving from your chest into your spine, that's strength returning, that's identity rebuilding, that's self-trust awakening. You see, a super empath without boundaries may attract narcissists, but a super empath with boundaries becomes untouchable. And when you become untouchable, you don't attract chaos anymore. You attract respect. You attract reciprocity. You attract peace, and peace is something a narcissist will never truly understand, because peace requires internal stability. Peace requires self-awareness. And that is why they cannot recover, because recovery requires accountability, requires humility. Recovery requires facing the truth without collapsing into blame. Most won't go there, but you will, because you are not afraid of growth. You are not afraid of reflection. You are not afraid of becoming more than you were yesterday. And that is why your future is powerful. Your future is powerful, not because of what happened to you, but because of who you are choosing to become. Listen to me carefully. There is a moment in every super empathist's life where the pain stops being the main character and purpose takes the stage. A moment where you look back and instead of asking, why did this happen to me? You begin asking, what is this preparing me for? That shift changes everything, because when you move from victim to visionary, your energy transforms, your posture changes, your voice strengthens, your decisions sharpen. You stop reacting to what was and you start designing what will be. Let me ask you something. What if this betrayal was training? Training your intuition to trust itself without apology. Training your heart to love without losing itself. Training your spirit to stand alone without fear. You survived emotional manipulation. You survived confusion. You survived the push and pull, the hot and cold, the promises and the withdrawals. That means something. It means you are resilient beyond measure. And resilience is not just the ability to endure. It is the ability to rise with wisdom. Think about the version of you who first entered that relationship. Maybe you were hopeful. Maybe you were open. Maybe you believed that love alone could fix what was broken in someone else. Now think about who you are becoming: more aware, more discerning, more grounded. You no longer confuse intensity with intimacy. You no longer confuse attention with commitment. You no longer confuse potential with reality. That is evolution. And here's the part most people miss. When you outgrow someone who operates from ego and control, they feel the loss far deeper than they will ever admit, because they lost access to someone who truly saw them. And once you see someone clearly and choose yourself anyway, you become a reminder of what they couldn't hold on to. That reminder follows them, not because you chase, but because you walked away. Let me be crystal clear. You are not responsible for their inability to change. You are not responsible for their wounds. You're not responsible for teaching them what integrity looks like. You're responsible for teaching them what integrity looks like. To your peace, to your future. Right now, in this moment, I want you to close your eyes and imagine a life where you are not walking on eggshells, a life where your emotions are not weaponized against you, a life where your love is received with gratitude instead of manipulation. Can you feel that? If that's not fantasy, that's alignment. Well, that's what becomes available when you decide that self-respect is non-negotiable. Say it with conviction: I respect myself and I honor my peace. Feel how solid that feels. A narcissist cannot recover because they do not bust. Build internally, they construct externally. Their identity is assembled from applause, admiration, conquests. But applause fades, admiration shifts, conquests lose novelty. And when those external pillars shake, there is no internal foundation to stand on. You are building self-trust. You're building emotional intelligence. You're building standards that protect your energy, And once you build that, you no longer need validation to know your worth. Let me ask you something bold. What would happen if you stopped trying to understand why they did what they did and started understanding why you tolerated it? That question is not about blame. It is about liberation. Because when you understand your patterns, you break them. When you see your blind spots, you illuminate them. When you face your fears, fear of abandonment, fear of being alone, fear of not being enough, you were being alone, fear of not being enough. You were never too much. You were simply offering depth to someone who could only swim on the surface. And here's the beautiful part, the same depth that felt overwhelming to them will feel like home to someone aligned with you. But first, it must feel like home to you. You must become comfortable in your own company. Comfortable in silence, comfortable in solitude, comfortable in the knowing that you do not need to chase love. You attract it by being whole. Repeat this inside yourself. I am open to the good that life brings, not just romantically, in every area, in friendships, in opportunities, in abundance. Because when you clear space by releasing toxicity, life rushes in to fill it with something better. That's how energy works. That's how alignment works. You don't lose when someone toxic leaves. You create space, and space is where miracles grow. Let me tell you even deeper. Forgiveness is not for them. Forgiveness is the moment you refuse to let their behavior rent space in your mind. It is the moment you say, I will not carry this bitterness into my future. It is not saying what they did was okay. And when you reach that point, you are unstoppable because now your energy is no longer tied to the past. It is invested in the present. And the present is where power lives. Right now, in this moment, breathe. Feel your body. Feel your heartbeat. Your life is not over because someone betrayed you. Your life is expanding because you are learning what you will never tolerate again. My life becomes better every single day, not because everything is perfect, but because you are evolving. I trust that everything is working out for me. Not because you see the entire path, but because you trust your steps. I choose growth. I choose freedom. I choose my future. And when you choose that, you no longer obsess over whether they regret losing you. You focus on becoming the version of yourself who would never settle again. That is the real recovery, not theirs. Yours. And now we arrive at the level most people never reach. Listen to me. This is where you stop surviving and start thriving. And start thriving, start thriving. How do I heal from them? And start declaring, I am grateful they revealed what I will never accept again. Gratitude. Not for the pain, but for the awakening. Because awakening changes your standards permanently. Let me ask you something powerful. If that betrayal had never happened, would you have discovered how strong you really are? Would you have learned how to stand on your own, Darshan? If they had never shown you their true colors, would you have sharpened your intuition to this level? Sometimes the greatest gift comes wrapped in the ugliest packaging, and only the awakened can see it. The narcissist cannot recover because they live in cycles, but you live in seasons, and seasons change. Winter does not last forever. Pain does not last forever. Confusion does not last forever. Growth is inevitable when you decide it is. Right now, in this moment, I want you to see something clearly. You were never meant to stay small. You were never meant to stay confused. You were never meant to stay in a dynamic where you questioned your worth. You were meant to expand. You were meant to rise. You were meant to become someone so aligned with your truth that manipulation cannot stick to you anymore. Think about who you are becoming. You walk into a room differently. You speak differently. You listen differently. You feel a red flag now, and instead of explaining it away, you honor it. That is self-trust, and self-trust is the foundation of freedom. Let me tell you something most people don't realize. When you truly detach, not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of peace, you become magnetic. There is nothing more powerful than someone who does not need to prove their worth. There is nothing more unshakable than someone who has faced heartbreak and chosen strength. You are not bitter. You are not closed. You re-selective. You are not afraid. You are aware, and awareness is power. A narcissist cannot recover because they must constantly chase stimulation to avoid emptiness. But you have learned to sit with yourself, to reflect, to recalibrate. And when you rebuild, you do not rebuild the same structure. You build stronger boundaries, stronger standards, stronger identity. You begin to realize that love is not something you beg for. It is something you match with them percentages, something you match with a synergy and emotional availability. You bust them and release them. No drama, no chasing, no convincing. That is maturity. That is growth. That is maturity. Let me ask you one final question before we close this chapter. Who are you without the pain? Who are you without the story of betrayal? Who are you when you fully own your strength? The answer is powerful. You are someone who knows their value. You are someone who does not abandon themselves to keep someone else. You are someone who can love deeply without losing identity. You are someone who can love deeply without losing identity. You are someone who understands that peace is priceless. Say it with me. I respect myself and I honor my peace. Feel how grounded that makes you. Now say this, I am open to the good that life brings. Feel how expansive that feels. Your future relationships will not look like your past because you are not the same person. You no longer tolerate inconsistency. You no longer tolerate inconsistency. You no longer romanticize chaos. You no longer mistake intensity for destiny. You choose calm. You choose clarity. You choose commitment. And when you do that, life responds. Opportunities align. People of integrity enter. Conversations feel safe. Love feels stable. And suddenly you realize something incredible. But betrayal was not a curse. It was a catalyst. It forced you to meet yourself at a deeper level. It forced you to stop outsourcing your worth. It forced you to build an internal world so strong that no one can shake it again. And when your internal world is strong, external losses lose their power. You are no longer afraid of someone leaving because you know you will never leave yourself. And that is the ultimate freedom. The narcissist cannot recover because they lost someone rare, but you recover because you rediscovered yourself. And once you rediscover yourself, you are unstoppable. Now feel this with everything inside you. This is the rebirth of your identity. Listen to me. You did not go through that betrayal to become smaller. You did not endure manipulation to become more fearful. You did not survive heartbreak to live cautiously for the rest of your life. You went through it to awaken to your value, to awaken to your standards, to awaken to the truth that your love is a gift and not everyone is qualified to receive it. Let that sink in. Your love is a privilege. Your presence is a privilege. Your energy is a privilege. And from this moment forward, you decide who gets access. No more automatic trust. No more over-explaining your boundaries. No more proving your worth to someone who refuses to see it. Right now, in this moment, something shifts. You stop identifying as the one who was betrayed, and you start identifying as the one who rose, because that's who you are. You are the one who chose healing when bitterness was easier. You are the one who chose growth when revenge was tempting. You are the one who chose peace when chaos felt familiar. And that choice, that is power. The narcissist may move on. They may repeat their cycle. But you transcend, you evolve beyond the pattern. You break the cycle. You elevate the standard for what enters your life. And here's the truth that will set you free forever. When you truly love yourself, betrayal cannot destroy you. It only redirects you. Say it out loud wherever you are. 9 trusts that everything is working out for me, even when I don't see it, even when it hurts, even when I feel alone. I am open to the good that life brings, not just the comfortable, not just the easy, but the growth, the lessons, the expansion. My life becomes better every single day because I am learning, because I am choosing differently, because I am evolving, because I am choosing differently. And most importantly, think it, I choose growth. I choose freedom. I choose my future. Feel that declaration in your chest. That is not a hope. That is a decision. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are choosing yourself. You are choosing environments that feel safe. You are choosing relationships that feel reciprocal. You are choosing conversations that feel respectful. You are choosing a life where peace is the foundation, not a rare moment. And when you build your life on peace, abundance follows. Aligned love follows. Purpose follows because the universe responds to alignment. It responds to self-respect. It responds to the courage to walk away from what diminishes you. Let me leave you with this. One day you will look back at this chapter, not with pain, but with gratitude. You will say, that was the moment I stopped settling. That was the moment I stopped abandoning myself. That was the moment I became who I was always meant to be. And when that day comes, you won't feel anger. You'll feel strength. You won't feel regret. You'll feel wisdom. You won't feel regret. You'll feel reborn because you are not defined by who betrayed you. You are defined by how you rise after it. Stand tall in that truth. Walk forward in that peace. Or trust your depth. Honor your peace. Protect your energy. And never, ever forget the very thing that couldn't handle about you is the very thing that will attract the life you deserve. You are rare. You are powerful. You are evolving. And your best chapter